The jungle breathed like a living thing. Steam hissed from vine-choked crevices, thick leaves dripped under gravity's silence, and every footstep squelched against moss that reeked of copper and rot. High above, twin suns filtered through the canopy in fractured beams, but down here, it was twilight. Callum Voss moved like a whisper. No crunch. No rustle. No breath wasted. His rifle, cradled like a lover, bore not a single scratch across its carbon-black frame. It didn't need a name. It was extension instinct. He paused behind a fungus-slick tree, checked his vitals, pulse 42, cortisol steady. Calm. Callum peered through the scope. Ahead, 50 meters, a shimmer in the air, a distortion. A ripple that didn't belong. It stalked low to the ground, predator-style, cloaked in refractive armor, barely visible to human eyes. But not to Callum's. ID confirmed. He whispered into his comm. Hunter 1. Dractyl class. Moving northeast, probable intercept vector. Copy, Ghost Actual. Came the voice of command. Engage at discretion. Ambassador is en route, 10 minutes out. 10 minutes was too long. He adjusted his elevation, breathed in, half out. Time stretched. Crack. The shimmer dropped like a puppet cut from strings. A second later, the sound echoed through the valley like a gavel struck in court. Callum didn't blink. 7 clicks west, Zarquan the Fawn tore a claw through the bark of a blood oak and roared into the canopy. Birds, if they were birds, exploded skyward in every direction. The first is gone. He growled in his native tongue, voice crackling over the warband comms. By projectile. No energy trace. No plasma arc. It's him. Silence answered. Then, the human ghost? A subordinate rasped. Zarquan didn't reply. He stared at the cooling corpse of his champion, a hole drilled clean through its camo suit and the gray meat beneath. Shot from 800 meters, through foliage and cover. This prey bites? Zarquan muttered. Then he smiled. Good. Callum moved again. Never linger. Never let the jungle learn your shape. His HUD flickered as data streamed in. 4 hostiles remaining, each worse than the last. These weren't soldiers, they were apex predators from across the galaxy. Sent not to kill the ambassador, but to send a message. Earth wouldn't kneel. Earth didn't forget. And Earth had sent him. He reached the extraction ridge, a natural overlook cloaked by ancient trees. Callum crouched and pulled out his spotter drone, a dragonfly-shaped thing that whirred to life and zipped upward. Patch me visuals on the next sector, he muttered. The drone obeyed, feeding images into his scope, thick underbrush, boiling mud pits, and then movement. Fast, heavy. Something barreled through the canopy, easily 2 tons of muscle and chitin. Hunter 2, he said, tagging it. Cargo breed. Armor class unknown. No visible weapons. Possible berserker. Engage? HQ asked. Not yet. Let it come closer. He dug in, eyes never leaving the scope. 2 minutes passed. Then 5. The beast approached like a charging dreadnought. Callum didn't move. He shifted slightly, adjusted windage. Waited. Then, through his earbud came a voice. You still a ghost, Voss? He froze. It was a woman's voice. Crisp. Familiar. Who patched this? He snapped. Relax. Leah from PsyOps. Just monitoring. They sent me your file. Didn't think you'd take the job. Didn't think I would either, he said flatly. But here I am. Why? He didn't answer immediately. Through the scope, he saw the ambassador's skiff enter visual range. I owe someone, Callum finally said. This war almost cost us everything. I made a promise. Leah didn't push. The cargo hunter sniffed the air, paused, then pounded forward. Callum counted the steps. 3, 2. Crack. The bullet didn't drop the thing. It staggered, roared, and kept coming. He fired again, this time through its eye. That did it. The beast collapsed in a heap of twitching limbs. Hunter 2 down, Callum said, already moving. He reached the ambassador's skiff just as it hovered down onto the ridge. The side panel opened with a hiss, revealing Ambassador Halden, mid-40s, Earth's diplomatic lead to the Galactic Council. "Mr. Voss?" Halden greeted, his voice trembling despite the calm veneer. "You look worse than in your file." "Feel worse too," Callum muttered, scanning the perimeter. "Get inside." "The welcome committee's not done yet." Halden stepped in. The pilot, a silent android, nodded to Callum. "Engines primed. Departure in 6. Won't survive 6, Callum said, checking his scope. 2 down. 3 left. They're closing fast." "Why you?" Halden asked, as Callum stepped away to take position near the drop edge. "Why send you?" Callum paused. "Because I don't miss." Down below, Zarquan watched through the scope of his own, alien tech fused with bone and sensor coils. There he was. The ghost. Not cloaked. Not hiding. Daring them. The hunt was on. And for the first time in centuries, Zarquan felt something new. Excitement. The forest had gone quiet again. Too quiet. Callum moved in silence, sliding down a slope slick with mist and tangled roots. His breath barely stirred, steps methodical, eyes flicking from shadow to movement, cataloging every ripple of danger. The sniper was no longer on the ridge. That spot was compromised now. He knew the others would converge. The skiff had taken off minutes earlier, the ambassador safely airborne. But the mission wasn't done. The warlords hadn't just sent assassins, they'd sent a message. And Callum's reply wasn't complete. He switched vision modes. Infrared bled red-hot through his HUD, rendering trees into spectral silhouettes. Then there. A flicker. Left quadrant. Hunter 3. Quick and low, this one didn't charge like the last brute. It stalked, slow as a ghost, nearly blending into the terrain. Long limbs. Feline gait. Inhuman poise. Probably from the Zerine species, stealth experts. Callum didn't aim yet. Instead, he backtracked toward a funnel choke, a narrow pass between 2 massive roots, with a sheer drop behind. A kill box. He laid a tripwire rig, micro-explosives paired with a motion sensor camouflaged in dust. Then he pulled back 20 meters and climbed into a split tree trunk that opened like a rib cage. He waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Then, a whisper of movement. The Zerine stepped into the trap. Snap. Boom. The explosion was small, contained, but it threw the alien sideways, its cloaking matrix disrupted by the EMP burst. For the first time, Callum got a clear look. Tall. Lithe. Spines down its back. Triple-lensed goggles flickering. It hissed, injured but not down. Then it spotted him. Crack. Callum's first shot grazed the creature's shoulder. It rolled, fast, and fired back, plasma bolts slicing through the air, melting leaves and branches in orange arcs. He ducked. Shifted position. No second chances here. This one could think. Could adapt. "Voss," Leah's voice buzzed in his ear. "We're monitoring seismic in your quadrant. Something big's shifting. You've got company coming, multiple heat sigs." "Define company," he whispered. 2 large contacts. Unknown class. Bigger than anything logged." "Copy." Callum took a deep breath, gripped the rifle, and pivoted. The Zerine had circled. It was above him now, claws extended mid-leap. He rolled to the side, firing mid-motion. The round punched through its side, but the aliens slammed into him with feral force. They tumbled. Callum landed hard, the wind knocked out. The rifle skittered away. The Zerine lunged. Callum grabbed his sidearm, shoved it under the creature's jaw, and pulled the trigger. Pop. 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 The body went limp, collapsing in a twitching heap. He shoved it aside, chest heaving. Wiped blood, alien and his own, from his face. 3 down. 5 kilometers away, Zarquan stood on a boulder, overlooking the steaming valley. His remaining hunters circled him, one heavily armored beetle-like, with hydraulic limbs. The other, a small, psychic predator in a containment shell. Both uninjured. Both watching him for orders. He reviewed the feed. The Zareen had failed. Unacceptable. Zarquan snarled. He's not prey, muttered the psychic one. He's something else. Zarquan turned to it slowly. Say that again. He's aware. He doesn't react. He predicts. I tried to touch his mind. It pushed back. Hard. Zarquan's lips curled. Then we're done hunting. He drew a blade, 6 jagged edges, humming with energy. Now we kill. Callum stitched his side with field gel and cinched his belt tighter. Blood oozed beneath his armor, but he moved on. There was no time for comfort. The 4th hunter had activated. He could hear it now, metal limbs smashing trees, hydraulic hisses echoing across the valley. A walking tank. He reached an old relay tower, rusted and half-eaten by moss. Climbing it took strength he didn't have to spare, but it gave him elevation. Gave him options. The mechanical hunter broke through the jungle like a wrecking ball. It was at least 8 feet tall, plated in layered armor, each step registering on seismic. He had one shot. He didn't aim for the core. He aimed for the leg joint, exposed, vulnerable, just beneath the secondary power cell. Crack. The armor buckled. Sparks flew. The hunter stumbled, fell to one knee. Callum dropped the rifle, pulled a thermal charge from his vest, and leapt. He hit the machine's back like a hammer, jammed the charge into a seam, and rolled clear just as it detonated. Whump. Flames mushroomed upward. Metal shrieked. When the smoke cleared, only twisted limbs remained. Only one left now. And Callum knew. Zarquan wouldn't send anyone else. He'd come himself. Night fell over Ishtar Prime. The twin suns sank low, casting long shadows and blood-red light through the canopy. The jungle turned into a theater of silhouettes. Callum returned to higher ground. He found a ridge with visibility, and pulled out the last of his MREs. He ate in silence, back to a tree, watching the darkness. You still alive? Leah's voice returned, softer. Barely, he said. You're 4 for 5. That last one's the leader. He's different. I know. Any plan? Callum looked through his scope. Nothing moved, but he felt it. He's hunting me now, he said. Which means he's already lost. Callum Voss didn't sleep. Not anymore. His back was against stone. His rifle cradled across his lap. Above, the stars blinked through shredded clouds, twin moons carving shadows through the high canopy. He was deep in the kill zone now, terrain dense, visibility low, wind unpredictable. It was perfect. But the jungle no longer felt like it belonged to him. It was watching. Waiting. Zarquan was close. The calm crackled. You still out there, ghost? Leah's voice was quieter tonight. More human. Still breathing, Callum replied. Noticed a pattern, she said. Each hunter attacked alone. Coordinated, but not simultaneous. He's testing you. No. He's learning. Leah paused. And what's he learning? Callum tightened the sling on his rifle. How to die slower. 10 meters ahead, something rustled. Not wind. Not wildlife. Callum slipped behind the roots of a twisted tree, its trunk split like a wound. His eyes adjusted quickly. The rustle became form, an insected drone, hovering low, scanning heat signatures. Recon unit. Not armed. A scout. He let it pass. Another minute. Another drone. This one lingered. He took it down with a silenced shot, clean and quiet. The body dropped in vines. Too easy. A shriek tore through the trees, low, guttural, inhuman. Not close. Not far. Just enough to shake the birds from the canopy. He recognized the sound. Psychic hunter. The last one Zarquan had left. So he sent it first. Callum knew this game. Send the mind reader to probe. Sense his thoughts. Shake his calm. He activated his neural disruptor implant. The pulse hit his skull like a sledgehammer, but the effect was immediate: mental static, memory fragmentation, scrambled thoughts. Painful, but effective. The psychic would find nothing but noise. He moved. Fast. Quiet. Changed elevation. Circled back. Then he saw it. A small, hunched figure, half covered in armored shell. It didn't walk. It drifted, smooth, unbothered, as though gravity didn't apply. Eyes black and reflective like oil on water. It froze. Turned. Even from 30 meters, Callum felt a pull, a ripple in his thoughts, a hand reaching into his skull. He gritted his teeth, forced the implant to spike again. The creature flinched. Twitched. Then hissed, as if in pain. Callum didn't hesitate. He fired. Crack. The round hit dead center. The shell cracked, leaking ichor and smoke. The creature screamed, a sound like glass breaking underwater, then vanished into the dark. But the moment it died, a whisper filled the air. Not heard. Felt. He's behind you. Callum spun. Nothing. Only air. Mist. Trees swaying gently. But the message was real. Zarquan was near. He relocated again, this time to a cliff edge overlooking a gnarled ravine. Steam rose from vents below, giving the air a toxic shimmer. If there was a final battlefield, this was it. No escape. No high ground. Just visibility. And death. Callum knelt. Unpacked claymores. Motion sensors. A decoy emitter with his heat sig. He placed the gear, activated the trap, and withdrew to a higher ledge 20 meters back, concealed in rock. Now he waited. 2 minutes passed. Then movement. Slow. Deliberate. Zarquan stepped into view. No armor. No drones. No support. Just him. His six-bladed energy weapon rested on his shoulder, glowing faintly like embers. His body was coiled muscle wrapped in scaled plating. Eyes narrow. Predatory. Focused. He stared at the decoy. Didn't attack. Didn't move. Then he spoke. You are not like the others. Callum didn't reply. Just kept him in the crosshairs. Zarquan continued pacing the perimeter of the trap without stepping in. The ones before you were loud. Proud. Eager to prove. You vanish. Leave behind corpses and questions. Callum whispered into his calm. He's talking. Wants something. Stall him, Liao said. Backup's not even in orbit. There is no backup, Callum muttered. They won't make it in time. Then why stall? He exhaled slowly. Because I want to know what he's afraid of. Zarquan looked toward the ridge. I reviewed the footage of your old battles. Contact war footage. You and your spotter. The woman. Callum's hand froze on the rifle. The breath in his chest hardened into stone. She died screaming, Zarquan said. Callum squeezed the trigger halfway. A hair more, and Zarquan's skull would split open. But the warlord smiled. And you left. Deserted. Until now. Callum lowered the rifle by inches. That was your mistake, he said coldly. You studied my battles. But not my reasons. Zarquan stepped forward, toward the trap. Callum watched him cross the tripwire zone. No detonation. He'd deactivated it. Damn it. You think hiding makes you strong? Zarquan snarled. Come. Let us fight like warriors. No, Callum whispered. You fight like prey. You announce your presence. Posture. Roar. That's not strength. That's theater. Zarquan hissed, stepped closer. Then what is strength? Callum rose from his ledge, rifle now on his back. Strength, he said, walking toward him, is knowing when to fire. He stopped. Smiled. And when not to, asterisk. Then tapped his wrist pad. Behind Zarquan, the decoy flickered, no longer showing Callum's signature, but Zarquan's. The claymores armed. Boom! The trap went off in a dome of light and shrapnel. Zarquan was thrown backward, his blade flying from his hand, his chest armor cracked open. Callum didn't run. He walked forward, rifle up, stepped through smoke and ash, and stared down at the stunned warlord. "You studied the language of death," he said, voice low. "I speak it." He raised his rifle. Zarquan grinned through blood. "Then say it." Crack. Smoke clung to the crater like a second skin. Shrapnel littered the ground, glowing faintly, embedded in bark, flesh, and stone. Callum lowered his rifle, eyes on Zarquan's crumpled form. One breath. Two. A twitch. The warlord's body moved. Then lurched upright. Callum's instinct fired first. He ducked, rolled left as a knife spun through the air, hissing past his cheek. Zarquan rose, half his armor blown away, one side of his jaw sagging, but his eyes sharp, feral, locked. "You should have aimed lower," the alien growled. "Next time," Callum muttered, already sprinting back. The ravine offered little cover, sharp rocks, steam vents, sheer drops. He crossed them fast, knowing Zarquan was behind him now, no longer stalking but charging. Every step burned. His ribs ached from the psychic hunter's attack. Adrenaline was fading. But pain was data. And he used it. "Lia," he panted into the calm. "Patch into my tracker. Pull satellite scans. I've got you. He's following, about 40 meters back. I need to lead him into grid Tango 4. The ledge above the sulfur basin. That's unstable terrain." "Exactly." Callum broke into the clearing. The ground beneath was brittle, caked mud layered over seething heat. He knew the terrain, had walked it during recon days ago. One wrong step and it collapsed. He slowed, just enough. Let Zarquan gain. The warlord charged through the trees, blades drawn, blood pouring from his side, breathing like a predator on instinct. "You run well for a ghost," he shouted. Callum didn't look back. "You talk a lot for a corpse." He reached the center of the basin, boots skidding slightly on the ash-dusted ground. Stopped. Dropped his rifle. Turned. No more running. Zarquan slowed, confused. "Surrender?" "No." Callum raised his fists. "Closure." The warlord lunged. Blades flashing. Callum ducked under the first arc, caught the second with his forearm armor, then countered with a punch to the throat. It landed, but Zarquan barely flinched. A knee to Callum's ribs sent him stumbling back. He grunted, spat blood, but stayed standing. "Still breathing?" Zarquan taunted. Callum didn't answer. He stepped in again. Fast jab to the side. Elbow to the neck. Zarquan grabbed him mid-motion and hurled him to the ground. The earth cracked beneath them. The ledge buckled. Steam hissed. They both froze as a fissure opened inches away. One wrong move. Callum pushed to his feet slowly, hand reaching toward his belt, not for a weapon, but for the detonator. He had planted it hours ago. He thumbed the switch. Nothing happened. Dead battery. "Of course." Zarquan smirked. "You look disappointed." Callum shrugged. "Just means I improvise." Then he sprinted again, straight into the warlord. They collided mid-strike and tumbled over the fissure's edge. The world became chaos. They fell, not far, but enough. Crashed onto a ledge below. Callum landed hard, shoulder first, pain flashing white across his vision. Zarquan stood first, limping now, but grinning like a beast. "I see it now," he said, circling. "Why they fear you. You kill like you breathe. Cold. Clean." Callum rose. Shaky, but steady. "But you bleed like the rest," Zarquan said. "Yeah?" Callum wiped his mouth. "But I don't die easy." They clashed again. Fists. Blades. Elbows. Bone against bone. Callum ducked a strike, drove his knee into Zarquan's stomach, then rammed a jagged rock into the warlord's thigh. The alien howled. Swung wildly. A blade sliced across Callum's bicep, spraying blood. Callum staggered. Zarquan moved to finish it, and stepped into the steam vent. It erupted with a roar. Scalding vapor engulfed him, boiling skin and armor. The warlord screamed. Callum didn't hesitate. He tackled him, pinning him down, pressing his forearm across Zarquan's throat. "You could have walked away," he growled. "I would do it again," Zarquan choked. "I know," Callum whispered. Then drove his combat knife into the alien's chest, between plates, under the heart. The warlord spasmed once, then stilled. Silence returned. No birds. No wind. Just the faint hissing of vents and Callum's ragged breathing. He slumped to the ground, eyes on the stars above. "Leah," he rasped. "I'm here. It's done." A long pause. Then, confirmed. "All hunters down. Command says stand by for evac." "No need," Callum muttered, eyes heavy. "I'm sending a med drone." He didn't respond. "Was?" Still nothing. Then, "Don't send flowers." Evac came at dawn. The sky over Ishtar Prime burned in soft golds and sickly greens as the first dropship pierced the clouds. It hovered above the ravine like a silent judgment. Callum didn't move. He sat on a rock near Zarquan's corpse, arms resting on his knees, blood dried across his armor. His left eye had swollen shut. His ribs ground like broken glass with every breath. But he was alive. Barely. The dropship's ramp hissed open. 2 soldiers stepped out, clean, polished, untouched by the jungle. They approached cautiously, rifles low but ready. "Ghost actual?" one asked. Callum tilted his head slightly. "If you have to ask, I'm not him." The soldier cracked a dry smile and keyed his calm. "Confirmed. We found him." Behind them, a medical drone floated down, its arms unfolding with soft clicks and humming instruments. Callum waved it off. "Patched me up just enough to walk. That's all. Sir, protocol says." "Protocol didn't drag itself through hell. I did. Just fix the bleeding." The drone obeyed. By the time they reached the skiff, the jungle was stirring again. Small creatures returned to the trees. Mist curled lazily across the ground. The nightmare had ended, for now. Inside, Ambassador Halden stood, immaculate as ever, though paler than Callum remembered. "Was," he said, offering a small nod. "Didn't expect you to walk back." "Neither did I." Halden motioned toward a seat. "You saved a lot more than me down there. I wasn't doing it for you." Halden gave a small, knowing smile. "Understood." As the skiff ascended, Callum looked out the window. Below, the crater still smoldered. The final battleground already being reclaimed by the jungle. No monument. No flag. Just earth and silence. "Reports already spreading," Halden said from behind him. "The warlords went quiet overnight. 4 pulled back fleets. 2 sent diplomatic feelers. And the 5th? Killed himself when he got word about Zarquan." Callum said nothing. Just watched the world shrink beneath them. Back on the carrier Vigilance, he was led through sterile halls, a ghost among clean uniforms and salutes. They treated him like a relic. Something dangerous, old, and not fully understood. In the med bay, Leah waited. She was younger than he expected. Dark curls tucked into a loose bun. No rank on her shoulder, just a data pad in her hand and a tired look in her eyes. "Finally see the face behind the voice," Callum said, lowering himself onto the exam bench. "I expected more scars," she replied, half teasing. "I keep most of them inside." She scanned his vitals, frowned. "You've got 2 cracked ribs, a punctured arm, and internal bruising. You should be unconscious. Pain's useful. It keeps me focused. Not sure that's healthy. Neither is letting monsters live." Silence lingered. Then she asked, "Why'd you really come back, Callum?" He looked at her for a long time. Then, "My spotter. 2 years ago, we were pinned during extraction. I got out. She didn't. I said I was done after that. Retired. But this mission, it felt like the same setup. Another diplomat. Another kill squad. If I didn't go, someone else would. And maybe they'd end up like her. You were avenging her? He shook his head. No. I was finishing the job. 3 days later, Earth issued a statement. All threats neutralized. Earth remains sovereign and will respond with appropriate force if challenged again. No names were mentioned. No medals. No press briefings. That's how the ghosts liked it. 6 months passed. Deep in the Mojave Wastes, at a black site training facility, recruits huddled in a simulation dome. Dust and ash swirled in the projection. Drones hovered overhead. A digital jungle flickered to life, modeled after Ishtar Prime. An instructor walked in, scarred, lean, expression carved in stone. Name's Voss, he said. Some of you think you're ready. You're not. He stepped onto the terrain mat and pointed toward the display. This is the place 5 apex alien hunters thought they'd win. They were smarter, stronger, and faster than you. He paused. They didn't make it. One recruit raised a hand. And the guy who stopped them? Callum looked at him, eyes steady. He made sure no one ever had to again. That night, in his quarters, he unpacked a small wooden box. Inside lay a single brass casing, fired from the ridge above the sulfur basin. The last bullet. The one that ended Zarquan. He placed it beside a photo, a woman in combat gear, smiling in the jungle sun. Then closed the box. And turned out the light.